It is my honor to make a presentation in this beautiful place, Da Nang, with members of WAVES. The subject of my presentation is job preparation training programs for young people in Korea. It is divided into 4 parts: youth labor market, youth career guidance through employment services, employment support and job preparation programs for youth, future prospects and tasks. Let's start part 1, youth labor market in Korea. Let's look at the current state of youth employment. As you see in this slide, the entire employment rate is stable in general. It was 63.7% in 2012. However, youth employment rates have declined since in the mid-2000s. It is argued that the decline is greatly influenced by a rapid increase in university attendance. With regard to the cause of youth unemployment, the rapid rise in the number of highly educated persons needs to be pointed out in terms of the labor supply. So let's look at the college entrance rate. Compared to the average entrance rate of OECD countries, the college entrance rate of Korea is quite high. As you see in this slide, the college entrance rate in Korea reached a peak of 77.8% in 2009. It still remains over 70%. On the contrary, the employment rate of high school graduates hovers around 30%, even though it recovers a little. So I can summarize up the characteristics of the youth labor market into 3 points in terms of the labor supply. 1, continuous decrease of the youth employment rate and delayed entry into the labor market as a result of high college entrance. And 2nd, labor market mismatch between oversupply of highly educated youth and labor demand. Most college graduates seek graduate entry-level jobs. According to survey data of Korea Employment Information Service, over 20% of graduates seek decent jobs, for example, in jobs in financial companies, major companies, and public institutions. But the portion of those out of the total jobs is only 10%. So those who fail to get decent jobs step back from the labor market and become part of the long-term employment preparation group. They abandon their search for employment for a while, for half a year or over a year. So increase in the non-economically active population and various unemployed groups is one of the characteristics of the youth labor market in Korea. So the integration of youth into the labor market is a major issue in Korean society. You can see the major 4 policies launched by Korean government. All these policies have main common goals. Among them, now I'd like to focus on the public employment services for youth, especially on the youth career guidance through employment services. So let's move to the part 2. The career guidance system in Korea. Since 2011, the government started to reform the career guidance system in schools, which focused largely on college entrance and information provision so far. Career guidance in schools focuses on students' self-awareness, career exploration, and career planning. Contrast to this, career guidance in public employment services emphasizes providing vocational and occupational information and one-to-one counseling for job search and employment. Three ministries are mainly concerned with the career guidance system: Ministry of Education, Ministry of Employment and Labor, and Ministry of Gender Equality and Family. I'd like to focus on the career guidance through employment services. It helps youth to make informed career choices and to prepare for employment. We have three institutions for this: job centers, colleges, and online services. Career guidance in job centers. There are 81 job centers nationwide. They provide consultation for career planning, occupational and labor market information, and information on training courses. And also they provide clinics for writing resumes and self-introductions and job interview preparation. Career guidance in colleges. We have 340 colleges, including four-year universities, vocational junior colleges, and teachers' colleges. Almost all colleges have career centers for job placement services. And also, the Ministry of Employment and Labor runs 47 on-campus job centers nationwide. They provide career education within the curriculum and consultation for career planning. Recently, they promote college and enterprise linkage programs. Career guidance online. WorkNet. WorkNet is the public job search portal operated by Korea Employment Information Service. It is launched in 1998. WorkNet provides youth-specific services, quality job information to help young job seekers find jobs, and free vocational aptitude testing for rational decision-making, and detailed information on SMEs. This is a WorkNet website. That concludes part 2, and let's move to part 3, employment support and job preparation programs. As I mentioned, since the early 2000s, government pushed ahead with active labor market programs for youth. They are including a subsidy for hiring young workers, introduction of government-sponsored internship programs, and an integrated employment service. Now I'd like to focus on a successful employment package program, which links career guidance to employment. A successful employment package program is an integrated employment service for vulnerable groups, youth and middle-aged job seekers. We have three target youth groups of SEPP: less educated youth, long-term unemployed youth, and NEET, youth not in employment, education, and training. SEPP is an integrated employment services. It is composed of 3 phases and combined with grants. Phase 1 is formulating individual action plans. Phase 2 is for empowering participants. Phase 3 is for providing job matching. Completing these all packages takes maximum a year. Let's look at phase 1, creating an individual action plan. In this phase, consultants provide one-to-one individual job consultation, vocational psychometric testing, and job preparation training group programs. They create an individual action plan in order to help overcome participants' weak points. And they provide a grant to participants who complete this phase. Phase 2 is for empowerment. Consultants provide guidance for job training or short-term work experience opportunities. If the participants undertake job training or short-term work experience, they get a grant also. Phase 3 is for job matching. In this phase, consultants take into consideration all data derived from phase 1 and 2 After that, they provide a job matching service, including accompanying participants to job interview, career fairs, and career days. If the participants get a job, they get a successful employment allowance. Now you see the implementation outcomes of SEPP. The number of participants is drastically increasing in only 3 years. The biggest increase was for those in their 20s. As you see in the chart right side, it jumped from 3,500 in 2010 to 52,000 in 2012. For intensive career guidance in SEPP, we provide job preparation training programs for youth. Job preparation training programs for youth helps youth make realistic choices and match their aspirations with employment and training opportunities. We have 3 programs for youth, CAP+, HIGH, and OLA. OLA means jump up in Korean. Let's look at a program for college students, CAP+. The purpose of CAP+ is helping students make rational career choices and improve job-seeking competencies. It is composed of understanding one's occupational traits, searching for information on occupations and jobs. And it is also for job preparing for job interviews. HIGH is a program for high schoolers. It helps high school graduates career planning, fostering work attitude and ethics. A program for NEET, OLA Jump Up. The purpose of it is a little different from the previous programs. The purpose of it is enhancing self-esteem, fostering social skills, and promoting work motivation. So it is composed of interpersonal and communication skills training, team building, and setting career goals. All these programs are developed by Korea Employment Information Service, updated every 3 to 5 years. Job centers, colleges, high schools are operating these programs. These programs are operated in group dynamics and delivered by trained program specialists. All they are using WorkNet career guidance materials, for example, WorkNet psychometric tests and WorkNet video clips. They have linkages with other employment services. For example, CAP+ is run as in the first step of job placement services in the universities. Now I'd like to show you an example to help you understand how the job preparation program is composed and run. CAP+ is the most popular program. It is 5 days program composed of 9 modules. The first day, module 1, is for self-awareness. Ice-breaking comes first, and something in common activity is for team building. And one tab list activity is analyzing the gap between what you have and what you want. And in the history of my dreams, we can see the major changes in participants' dream regarding to their jobs and occupations. Please look at the book, the picture in your book. The module in the module 2, they look at 10 events which have affected their lives deeply. and they take a vocational interest test to better understand themselves. Second day, Module 3 is for understanding the world of work and business. And the third day is for decision making, for setting career goals. This is the picture of a space-time capsule. A space-time capsule activity is for making priorities in decision making. After that, they check their resources and the necessary preconditions for getting a job. They decided their career choices. Module 6 is spent on resume cleaning. This is pictures of the fourth day. On the fourth day, everybody wears a suit in a simulated interview situation. They take the roles of interviewer and interviewee in turns. Taking the role of interviewer helps them to understand what is needed to interview effectively. Every interview is recorded by video for micro-teaching. The fifth day is for the closing ceremony. In the first session, they watch videos for understanding business etiquette. And in the last session, they wish each other good luck in their job search. As I mentioned before, CAP Plus is the most popular program amongst the job preparation training programs. Most participants are satisfied with CAP Plus. It is reported that they have gained confidence of job search after attending the program. Group dynamics and peer feedback has been proved to be effective for getting information and preparing interview. Over 10,000 young people undertake CAP Plus a year. That concludes part 3. Let's move to part 4, future prospects and tasks of youth employment support and job preparation training programs. I'd like to talk about 3 points for future tasks. First, increasing the number of competent career consultants. Competent career consultants are very essential for career guidance, but they remain insufficient in number and quality. This requires more attention to training more and better qualified consultants. Also, improving their working conditions and reducing their workloads are essential. Second, the need for detailed programs of customized service. Especially various internship programs and work experience programs in diverse occupational sectors are required. Expanding the range of target groups and increasing the number of service recipients are very important. Among youth, the distrust on public information and free public materials remains high. The distrust remains high. The preferred sources on information are personal networks and internet-based information. So promotion of professionally researched government career guidance amongst the young population is urgently needed. The most important thing is reducing blind spots in career guidance for young people. Most participants in career guidance are school students. It is not easy for the school dropouts and school graduates to access to and to participate in a career guidance system. So establishing an effective service system for the youth, not in organization, not in school, not in employment. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Miguel, for your very nice introduction. And first of all, I'd like to thank Webb as well as Melissa for extending the invitations to me, including also to attend this very useful event, and all the very warm hospitality extended to us. And I also like to thank Webb and all the members for supporting Cambodia to be another member in the group also. And actually, like Miguel has already mentioned, my agency, the Public National Employment Agency, is quite young, just 3 years old. And today I will just basically introduce my agency as a new member to all the members here, and briefly about the service provided by the agency, and then Law will talk specifically about the projects to support this kind of guidance for youth in Cambodia. So I think like during the coffee break we talk a lot about aging, like I think a bit from the part of Korea, Japan also. But in Cambodia, I think you see kind of different angles from demographic perspective. Whereas, like more than 50% of our population age below 25. So some people say that this is kind of good demographic dividends, but we are also quite concerned. The government are very concerned because, like if you cannot provide enough skill, you cannot create enough job. Probably like there is another kind of social instability or another kind of social disruption to the development process of the country also. So I think in the highest level of the government development strategy, job creation is among the top priority. So I think that is why in 2009 the government decided to create our agency, the National Employment Agency, to provide support, especially to the better functioning of the labor markets in Cambodia by focusing on providing the employment services as well as developing the labor market information system in Cambodia. And so the idea is, I think, is not much difference from the the service or the purpose of the well-established agency visions from the presentation from the morning until now. It is just to create this kind of one-stop service where job seeker employer can come and then they get all package of services. And so I just go over quickly about the service provided, and then here you see like we provide our service now are still quite basic. We provide this kind of job search assistance, vacancy, announcements, and some sort of referral service, and internship, placement also. But one I like to focus here because it is related to the topic also is the career guidance and counseling especially for the first-time job seeker, for those who are migrating from rural area to the urban area, or those who are shifting from agricultural sector to the industrial sector. So we provide this kind of support. But like the problem is that now we do not have a qualified counselor or qualified staff to provide this kind of service, because it is a little bit, you need to be I think like in the other country also, you need to have well-trained staff who really understand the issue clearly. And the other thing is that we have not developed a quite systematic tool or material for providing this kind of service to the youth yet. I think this is why we seek some assistance from SIDA to develop this kind of support for the job seeker. And so a service for employer, also still very basic, just helping them announce their vacancy, and also helping them searching for the workforce, and some other kind of basic service, such as advice, suggestion on the recruitments, so on and so forth. And this service, I think, are provided. First of all, is online. We have our own website, which job seeker employer can go there. I think this is kind of typical service on the internet. But it is still quite limited. Only job search, only vacancy announcement, or access to the database of the job seeker. And we provide another kind of service through, this is face-to-face, through what is called job center. In the previous presentation, I saw some country use the word probably employment service center, but in Cambodia it is called job center, where job seeker or employer can come and meet with our staff to provide counseling, some other kind of assistance also related to their search for a job or stuff. And we plan to create at least one job center in one provinces in the country, but so far we have set up only 5 job centers. And I think probably early next year or during late this year, we're going to add 2 more job centers, which also include a career guidance center for youth inside the job center also. And I think Law will talk more specifically about this. And I think I just show you a little bit about, in the last 3 years, about the number of vacancy we collected, and also the number of job seekers registered with us. And but these numbers are not really representative of the whole country, because it reflects our ability to collect the information. Does not represent the whole all the vacancy in the country or all the job seeker in the country. But from here you can also see kind of mismatch. You can see, but technically it is not really, you cannot say that. But in our service, in the provision of the service, we facing the problem I think some colleagues have already mentioned, where you have job vacancy opening, and then you have we cannot find where employer cannot find the workforce to fill. Also, those job seekers who are looking for a job but do not have the right skill or have the right experience to to fit into that kind of job. So far, we receive support from the ILO in terms of training in providing basic employment service as well as the employment counseling. But the training are quite short, and I think like just equip our staff with very basic skill in dealing with this important issue. And we receive some support from also like the Asian Development Bank in terms of developing the labor market information system, especially for building the analysis as well as setting up the system to provide a better labor market information in the country. And from Japan's International Cooperation Agency also, through the attachment of senior volunteer expert, as well as like the future training in Japan also related to employment service as well as labor market information, and some training in China also related to the employment service. And a specific project we'll discuss about is supported by SIDA through the Swedish Public Employment Service to improve the skill developments as well as employment for youth in Cambodia, which has been started this year and will be ended in 2015. So I think this is my brief introduction, and I'm very pleased to answer any further question or any inquiry from our colleague here. And once again, I'm very pleased through seeing the presentation this morning. Actually, I learned a lot, and I have at least some idea how to move forwards in terms of developing our service package, especially in the field of career guidance for our agency. And with this, I thank you once again, and then I'd like to invite Law to talk specifically about the project. And so, thank you.
Of Sweden and the government of Cambodia to support Cambodia within different areas. And one of these areas is actually to support the government when it comes to youth and the implementation of the national youth strategy that has been adopted by the Cambodian government. And the Swedish government is particularly interested to support Cambodia when it comes to skills development for young people, and to try to support and to contribute or a little bit in the bridging of the educational system into the labor market. And why the Swedish Public Employment Service has been asked to do this is very much because it's a part of our international commitment. As you know, that also WAPES are one of our international commitments, and has been since the very start of WAPES. We also have a special unit working totally external financed, but working with different countries in order to support the national employment services and public employment services in different countries. But Cambodia is a new country for us, and we are very happy to have this cooperation. And when you look in this slide, I would like to underline that this slide is, and the picture of the youngsters that you can see is very much the challenge of this project, and the challenge for NEA as well, for the National Employment Agency. It is actually how to reach, it was mentioned this morning by the ILO director, how to reach the young people in the rural areas, how to reach them, how to provide high quality information, adequate information about training possibilities, but also about the needs of the labor market. So this picture is a try to actually catch the moment of informing and try to influence the young people in the rural areas. The project also has some kind of new features, new for us, and I think also new for the National Employment Agency in Cambodia. One of the starting points for the project was actually to support NEA with its strengthening of the private-public partnerships, strengthening the cooperation with the private agencies in Cambodia. So that's why we have a third partner, as you can see, and that is HR Inc. Cambodia, who is a kind of staffing company and a private employment agency, and one of the biggest in Cambodia. And that is a totally new approach for us. During our 20 years of development cooperation, we have never had a private partner in our projects. In Sweden, though, we have cooperated a lot with Manpower, for instance. Within the Swedish labour market, we have a tight cooperation with Manpower and other agencies as well, but never in another country, never as a part of a development cooperation project. So this is new for us. It is new for SIDA, who are financing it as well. So we all believe that we are in a learning process. But we think that is a good starting point, because we have already noticed a good cooperation. We have established a good platform, and we learn from each other. We learn from the different roles we have and the different experiences we have from Sweden, from Cambodia, but also from the private sector of Cambodia. The overall objective with the project is to contribute to a well-functioning labour market, and by doing that also to support skills development and employment for youth in Cambodia. And the situation in Cambodia is very much different from Sweden. In Sweden we are lacking jobs, we are lacking vacancies, but in Cambodia there is a lot of vacancies available actually, but no skilled labour force. If you put it very simple. Of course the situation is a bit more complex than that, but if you put it very simple. So bridging and try to contribute to the skills development for young people is very important. Yeah, the project has 3 components. The first one is to support, as I mentioned before, the natural youth strategy decided by the Cambodian government. And by that we are trying to support the establishment of 2 new youth centers. And the youth centers in the provinces in Cambodia, they are dealing with a lot of different kind of information, health information, they are providing library services, but by also supporting them now we are trying to also establish these youth career guidance units so that they will also be an active part of the skills development and the career guidance. We strongly believe that we will try to increase the cooperation, because that is a challenge today, to have a tight cooperation between it. We believe that will at least contribute to a better cooperation in the future when it comes to counseling and to provide information for the young people. Another cornerstone of the project is component 3. That was also a starting point for SIDA to support this project. We usually in our project have a lot of capacity building, training, workshops, supporting the public employment service in different countries. But here we also have very active measures. For instance, we will implement during the project together with NEA and together with HR Inc. An internship program targeting at least 500 young people, high school graduated or university graduated. We're also targeting to. We're also planning to have an entrepreneurship training program for 100 young people in the provinces. Try to support them to establish their own companies. And there will also be a package, a vocational and soft skills package for approximately 800 young people during the project implementation. And soft skills or employability skills is a very important and demanded from the employers in Cambodia. there is a lack, I think, both of providers doing this, but also there's a lack of this knowledge among the young students. We also hope that by doing this and implementing these 3 components together, we hope that we also will influence the educational system and strengthen the educational system so that the educational system together with NEA also can, in a much earlier phase, reach the students, reach the young people, so to support them to make choices, to make adequate and relevant choices, also in relation to the demands of the labor market. Yeah. Now I did the same mistake as somebody else did. Maybe it's a signal to close the conference. I don't know. These are the project outputs. As I said before, to coordinate the national youth strategy activities, but also to coordinate other projects to support NEA and to try to coordinate this project. There is a cooperation with JICA, the Japanese International Cooperation Agency, and as mentioned also Asia Foundation. Then the 2 new job centers will be established, and the 2 new youth centers will be established, and there will be career guidance services developed in the rural areas. I think it's better that you do it, Mikael. I think you are more skilled than me. Thank you. When it comes to component 2 and the support for the National Employment Agency, we will also support them in elaborating a new service model, taking into consideration these new youth career guidance units. In order to do that, and in order to provide the good information and reliable information to the young people, to the young job seekers, there is a need to strengthen the model for labor market analysis and forecasting. And we are now supporting with Swedish experts doing a occupational forecast so that the information will be reliable and up to date. Internship program is also already mentioned, and the vocational and soft skills package is already mentioned, and the entrepreneurship skills package is also one of the outputs in the project. This is the concept that we are now just recently starting to implement. The concept of youth career guidance units, meaning that within the new NEA job center in the province, there will be a unit staffed with people from the job center, but also from the youth center. They will work together 2 days a week in each places in order to exchange information, exchange experiences and knowledge, and learn from each other. And by doing this, we hope that when the young people visiting the youth center, maybe for some other issues, for health issues or some other things, they will also have the opportunity to have a good information about the labor market and about job opportunities. So this is the concept that the young people in the provinces, either they will visit the new job center or they will visit the youth center. They will be able to have this same kind of information relating to jobs and educations and skills development. Yeah. There are mainly two objectives for these units. The first objective is to ease the transition from education to work, and by doing that, to elaborate some packages for the schools, so information packages about the labor market, so that the staff from the youth career guidance units can visit the schools and providing this information. And in the long run, we hope that this could also be adopted by the schools, so that some teachers could also play the role of facilitating this information. Information packages both to, as you can see, the high school and the university students. And these packages will be, of course, elaborated in a little bit different ways, depending on the target group. The second objective for the youth career guidance units is to find try to approach the young people, and that is actually a problem. How to find them, how to encourage them also to take a job or to participate in the training. There will be a different method for that, and we are working together with experts from Sweden as well to find out the methodology, how to make an outreach analysis, how to strengthen the networks locally in order to really, so to speak, fetch those in order to find their colleagues, so to speak, the young colleagues. We think that it's much better that young people are approaching young people than old people such as like me and others. We are not so skilled in approaching the young people. And of course there needs to be a marketing and communication strategy in order to do this. And this is very much about to strengthen the cooperation locally in the provinces, and that is a challenge, I think, in every country. They say it's a classic dilemma to strengthen the cooperation between the education system and the labor market. This is a model for what we are within the project are trying to create, meaning that there are youth now in education. Some of them are, of course, going directly to employment, as you can see, but a lot of them need to go through the youth career guidance units and job center in order to have information and support. And some of them also need internship in order to gain experiences before they maybe find their first job. And we also, as mentioned, need to reach the unemployed youth, try to make them come to the centers and register. I just want to add and want to mention that in order to reach them and in order to register the young people in the provinces, we are elaborating together with NEA a mobile application so that the staff in these youth career guidance centers in the provinces easily can go out to schools or to other places where the young people are and register them, support the registration of them. Doing this offline because of the lack of internet, and then when I go back to the office, this information will be downloaded to the server and to the network. So that is a tool that we have a lot of expectations on when it comes to this registration. Yeah, and now I will hand over the mic to Hong Shun. Yes, thank you.
No, I think I think this is the end, but I think here I just highlight even some sort of very minimal assistance are quite useful in helping the youth. Here are some praises from the youth who receive some sort of very basic assistance from us. So this is why I just like to mention again that it is very important that we need to probably develop this kind of career guidance service in more systematic, probably in the school system, our school system, so that probably it will be even more productive or more efficient in helping the youth, especially to make their smooth transition into the labor market. So yeah, I think that's all. Yeah, thank you so much once again. And
thank you very much for this refreshing and impressive presentation. I think you have a lot of things in place for the short time you are operational. And it's also, I think, good to say that, because you said that young people serve young people better than elderly people or people that are not so young anymore. And your team is very young, I understand. So you know what you're talking about, yeah. So that's very good, and you have a big network of international cooperation already, which is also very helpful. I would like to take questions from the floor to our presenters. And
then from that kind of information, we can, directly talk to the youth, especially in better preparing them for entering into the labor market. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I think it's very good to implement the mindset of public-private cooperation from the beginning. More questions from your side? I have a question. Another kind of cooperation that is, I think, relevant in this context is the cooperation between the employment sector and the education sector, and you have been mentioning that when you said that you want to bridge to the educational system. And when we're talking about career guidance, we're basically talking about managing education. What are you doing? And the question goes also to you, to all the panelists, whoever wants to pick it up. What do you do to reach out to educational institutes? You're all very polite to each other. Who wants to start?
It's non-existent, to tell you first of all, in the education sector. And they just provide education, and there's no linkage between educational institution with the industry. So that's why like there's a growing kind of mismatch of skill provided as well as skill demanded by the markets. So our support or our activity is not to solve everything, but we think we can make some sort of improvements by working together with the Ministry of Education, because they're not dealing with the problem face to face with the private sector or employer. And that's why we as public employment service provider, we collected all the information related to skill, related to what's happening in the labor market, and also as a byproduct of our employment service, we also learn a lot what employer need, what the future, demand. And it is better to provide this kind of feedback into the educational system, so that they can have some sort of information, to first of all probably prepare the student or probably change their curriculum, so that it will better equip the youth some knowledge to to get into the labor market. But I think there are other things which need to be done. But I think cooperation between...
It's not easy to cooperate with educational institution. Recently, the Ministry of Employment and Labor in Korea established 47 on-campus job centers for helping young people to access to public career guidance system. Yeah, it's the one of the efforts, and another effort is allocating specific field-specific career counselors. I mean that those kind of counselors have much experience of industries, and after allocated in colleges or vocational high schools, they provide special guidance to students for the transition school to work. So it's one of the efforts to make the coalition with education institution. And recently, the government of the Ministry of Education promotes some work experience programs and internship programs in enterprises and companies. For success, those kind of program, the cooperation between schools and industries are essential. But we need more cooperation from the industries. They always critical to education, especially to the college education, because the curriculum has little relevance with with fostering the employment-related competencies. But for that, they should make more effort to operating the work experience programs or internship programs. Yeah.